Okay, believe it or not, we're going to get through this book of Joshua. This part will go a little faster. So let's get started. Okay, so we're on 10. Let me get my glasses. The sun stands still because the king of Jerusalem heard that Joshua captured the city of Ai and killed its king. Then Gibeon made peace with the Israelites, so the people of Jerusalem were very, very scared because the Gibeon was as large as any of the cities. They had a king and they were larger than even the city of Ai, and its men were mighty warriors. Okay, so Joshua gets a message from the Gideons that the Amorite kings have joined forces and they've attacked us because we made peace with you. Please come and save us. So Joshua gathers his men, and the Lord told him, "Do not be afraid. I have already given you the victory." The Lord made the Amorites panic, and the Israelites slaughtered them at Gibeon. And as the Amorites were running, the Lord made huge hailstones fall on them. And there were more killed by hailstones than by Israelites. Now, Joshua, where's the pen in there? Hold on. That's the... Okay. Joshua spoke in the presence of the Lord of the Israelites. He said, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and the moon to stop over the valley." And it is written in the book of Jasher that the sun didn't go down that day. Never before had there been a day like that again, and never was there before or after. Never had the Lord listened and obeyed a human like he did this time. They were successful because the Lord fought on Israel's side. 5 kings defeated. The 5 Amorite kings escaped. So Joshua was told they were hiding in a cave. So he told his men to roll the stones over the entrance and keep a guard. Other Israelites continued slaughtering them, their people, and the others were dead. So Joshua had the 5 kings hung out back. They took them out of the cave. They hung them on the trees, 5 trees, and then they put them back in the cave, deceased, and rolled the stone. So Israel has captured the area around Jericho, Jerusalem, all of the south. And now, and that's all that, talked about everything we just talked about. And now, this is a key event of the Northern Campaign. Okay. The United Kings of the North Canaan, which we know as Israel, were defeated. The Lord told Jacob, "Do not be afraid." Again, he tells him. Joshua left nothing undone as the Lord had commanded him. They conquered North Canaanite cities, which we know as Jerusalem, but still have much more land to conquer. And he leaves nothing undone, as we talked. The kings conquered by Moses, yeah. The northern kings of Canaan were defeated. The Lord told Joshua, "Do not be afraid." He left nothing undone. The key event now is the tribal allotment. Okay? So each tribe receives the designated portion of the promised land. So, these are other kings conquered, still unconquered parts of Canaan. And okay, so now the distribution of the tribal territories among the 12 tribes of Israel. Jeff Cavins says, centuries later, David will complete what Joshua begins here. Then he conquered Jerusalem. Okay. So all of this is the distribution. And God wanted us to know, because he wrote it all down. It's very, very detailed. Where the land begins, where the inheritance goes, who gets what. Each one. So I'm not going to go through all that because it's, just names and places, but if you're interested, you can go and look. Towns of Judah, the territory of Ephraim, and I did read every single word of it. The territory of half tribe, west, the territories of remaining tribes, territories of Benjamin, territories of Simeon, territories of Zebulun, Issachar, Naphtali, Dan, Joshua, who was the last. His was the last after all he did. So they finished dividing the land. Okay. And then the cities of refuge. They appointed the cities of refuge where anyone who killed someone could flee there until they were brought before the congregation and, judged. The cities of the Levites, you remember, they were not allowed to get anything. That was the agreement from day one. That's what, God told them. So, they did that. And so it was all done. Thus, the Lord gave to Israel all the land which he swore to give their fathers, and having taken possession of it, they settled there. And the Lord gave them rest after all that on every side, just as he had sworn to their fathers. Not one of their enemies had withstood them, for the Lord had given all their enemies to their hands. Not one of all the good promises which the Lord had made to the house of Israel had failed. All came to pass. Let's see. Okay, the eastern tribes return. Okay, so where are we at? 22. All right, so there's an argument over a monument. The people of Israel come running to Joshua, tell him the tribes of Reuben went and built an altar on our side of the Jordan. So the priests Eleazar and his son Pinehas go and talk to the people, and they say, we don't need someone rebelling against the Lord. Remember what's happened in the past when we've rebelled. And they assure them, no, this is not for burning offerings or for sacrifice. It's just a sign for the people, yours and ours, that we will never rebel against our Lord. So the people were satisfied with that, and it was just a misunderstanding, and they named the monument Witness. So basically, that's what that was about. They named it Witness. The altar, okay, here it is. The altar of witness. They named it Witness in the end. Okay. Okay, so Joshua's goodbye. He says, I'm old now. The Lord your God will push your enemies back. You shall possess the land as the Lord your God promised you, but you must be steadfast and keep all that is written. Meanwhile, they now possess the land, but he's just going over everything. You now possess the land of Moses. And he goes sort of through this real long lecture. And it would be good for you to read it, but it's just too long to put in here. Of all the good things the Lord has done, why to keep his law, so they keep the promised land, that he fought so hard for them, so don't let it slip through their fingers. And that's what he says. You know, I'm going to tell you something. It's really good. So you want to at some point read through it. It's, you know, a column and a quarter, maybe not even a quarter. Okay, so now we're up here at the tribes renew the covenant. Okay, so Joshua gathers all the tribes to renew the covenant. He summarizes all the sons of Israel have been through, all the time of leaving Egypt, all the way through the time of the deserts and the battles they fought once they entered the promised land and going into it. He goes into everything and how to stay faithful. In his final charge to Israel, most importantly, to avoid the temptation of idolatry, it says Joshua wrote this book called the Law of God. And I want to look into that. And he took a great stone and set it up there under the oak in the sanctuary of the Lord. And he said that the stone shall be witness against us, for it has heard all the words of the Lord that he spoke to us from the beginning. Therefore, oh, darn it, hold on. Therefore, it shall be witness lest you and against you if you deal falsely with your God. Soon thereafter, the death of Joshua and Eleazar. And it gives the exact area where they're buried in. And I wonder if it's still there. It says the bones of Joseph and the sons of Israel were brought from Egypt, that they carried all those years, 40 years through the desert, were buried at Shechem. And Eleazar is buried at Gibeah. This part I'm showing you because I'm going to talk about that in a second. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Okay. So it goes through all that, the death of Joshua and Eleazar and where they're buried. And so that's the very end. Now it's coming to the book of so that's the end. But let me just talk about this for a second. First, I just want to say a couple of things. First, Joshua 24:15, one of my very favorite Bible quotes. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. The first time I met my daughter-in-law's family, before they were married, this is what was on their front door. And to me, the Lord spoke to me that she was the one. And she was, because it's been 10 years they've been married. She's a wonderful wife. He's a wonderful husband. And it gives me so much joy. There's just nothing like knowing that someone loves your child that much and will be there when you're not. I'm so grateful for my daughter-in-law. So to me, it seems like the book of Joshua is your repeat. As the teacher repeats obedience to God, you'll be rewarded, and disobedience will be punished. I've gone through this pretty quickly, but let me tell you something. This was a long, just the beginning. The other part was mostly the inheritance. So the beginning, it was very detailed, but it was very good, very good. The battles, I don't know much about military, so it was interesting. And it took a lot of work to go through it all. But let me tell you something, it was very dramatic and exciting. So the important points we learned from the book of Joshua. First, God is always with his people, no matter where they are. Second, God gives those who are faithful and obedient the promised land. Third, do not worship false gods, but serve only the God of Israel. So that is that we are not done the fifth period yet. We still have the Judges and those couple of pages of Samuel 1. So I'll work on that tomorrow. So I hope that you are understanding this and it's helpful. I try to add in a little personal to keep it a little interesting. So we're done, Joshua. Moving on. We're still in the fifth period though, but we're done, Joshua. Bye.